Every night on a cruise ship, something strange happens. Long after the laughter fades, after the last cocktail glass is cleared, and after passengers drift back to their cabins, a hidden world wakes up. The buffet lights dim. The serving spoons rest. And behind those polished counters, an enormous question quietly lingers. What really happens to all that food? Not scraps from plates, not half-eaten meals, but full trays of food that looked perfect, smelled incredible, and were never touched. Most travelers never think about it. Some assume it's donated, others imagine it's recycled or magically reused. And a few even wonder if it simply disappears into the ocean. The truth is far more complex, tightly controlled, and honestly, more shocking than most people realize. Because a cruise ship isn't just a vacation. It's one of the largest moving food operations on Earth. Welcome aboard Travel & Cruise, where today we're pulling back the curtain on a side of cruising almost no passenger ever sees. This is the hidden reality of cruise buffets, the systems behind the scenes, and the unseen decisions that determine the fate of every single tray of food once you walk away. By the end of this journey, you'll never look at a cruise buffet the same way again. A modern cruise ship is a floating city. It doesn't sleep, it doesn't slow down, and it never stops feeding people. From sunrise omelets to midnight pizza, thousands of passengers expect fresh meals around the clock. On large ships sailing from the United States, more than 15,000 meals can be prepared in a single day. Think about that, mountains of vegetables, endless loaves of bread, tons of meat, seafood, desserts, and drinks, all moving through massive kitchens hidden deep inside the ship. And unlike a hotel on land, there is no quick grocery run if something runs out. Once the ship leaves port, that's it. Chefs must plan for every possibility, every appetite, every unexpected rush. Running out of food is not an option. Complaints spread fast at sea and disappointment travels even faster. Because of that reality, cruise kitchens intentionally prepare extra food. Not because they're careless, but because precision at the scale still leaves no room for error. Feeding thousands of people with different tastes, cultures, and schedules guarantees one thing. Some food will be left behind. Even with the best planning, leftovers are inevitable. But here's where things change. The moment food reaches the buffet line, its fate is sealed. It doesn't matter if it looks untouched. It doesn't matter if no one ever served themselves. Once food is placed on a buffet by law, it can never return to the kitchen. This rule exists for one reason only: food safety. Buffets expose food to hundreds, sometimes thousands of people. Hands touch serving utensils. People cough, talk, breathe, and lean over trays. Even if everything looks clean, there is no way to guarantee it hasn't been contaminated. On land, a small mistake might affect a handful of guests. At sea, one mistake can spread illness across an entire ship. A foodborne outbreak on a cruise ship isn't just uncomfortable. It's a logistical disaster with legal consequences. That's why cruise regulations are ruthless. Once food is served, it's done. It cannot be reused, repurposed, or saved. Every night, entire trays are quietly removed. Not because they're bad, but because safety demands absolute certainty. And that's where the real system begins. Behind the scenes, modern cruise ships operate more like high-tech factories than floating resorts. Years ago, chefs relied on instinct and experience. Better too much than too little. But that mindset created enormous waste. Today, technology has taken over. Advanced tracking systems monitor what gets cooked, what gets taken, and what gets thrown away. Some cruise lines analyze every single tray. They study which dishes vanish first and which barely move. They track passenger demographics, sailing routes, and even weather patterns. Hot days mean lighter meals. Cooler climates increase demand for comfort food. Ships with more American passengers see higher demand for burgers and desserts. European sailings favor fish and salads. In many cases, it's no longer the head chef deciding quantities, it's an algorithm. These systems learn from every voyage, quietly adjusting menus and production levels. Thanks to this invisible technology, some cruise lines have already reduced food waste by more than 40%. And passengers never notice the difference. The buffet still feels endless. The abundance still feels luxurious. But behind the scenes, it's smarter. Inside the kitchen, there's an invisible line that chefs are trained to never cross. Food that never leaves the kitchen still has value. A salmon fillet that wasn't served might become soup. Vegetables can be reused in sauces or stocks. But once food crosses onto the buffet, everything changes. Even if it looks perfect, it's considered unsafe. No exceptions. No second chances. That food doesn't go straight into the trash. It enters an industrial system hidden below deck. Massive grinders, compactors, and dehydrators handle food waste with brutal efficiency. The goal isn't saving food at all costs. The goal is controlling risk, reducing volume, preventing contamination, maintaining standards. Emotion has no place in this process. It's mechanical, regulated, relentless. On modern cruise ships, food waste is processed almost immediately. First, it's ground into tiny particles. Then it's dehydrated, removing most of the moisture. This alone can reduce volume by up to 80%. What's left is a dense, dry material that's far easier to store. On newer ships, that material can be converted into energy or useful byproducts that help power onboard systems. On older ships, it's stored and offloaded at port for specialized treatment. And no, cruise ships don't just dump waste into the ocean whenever they want. The ocean is governed by strict international laws. The most important rulebook is MARPOL, a global convention regulating waste at sea. Under these rules, food waste can only be released under extremely specific conditions. It must be fully processed. The ship must be more than 12 nautical miles from land. And every discharge must be logged, timed, measured, and recorded. Inspectors audit these records regularly. Any inconsistency raises red flags immediately. Fines for illegal dumping can exceed $1 million. Cruise lines have been caught before, and the consequences were severe: lawsuits, reputational damage, tighter oversight. Because of that risk, most cruise lines avoid ocean discharge whenever possible. The sea is no longer a place where mistakes disappear. Every action leaves a paper trail. You've probably heard cruise lines advertise zero waste or zero landfill ships. It sounds impressive. But the truth is more complicated. Zero landfill usually means waste isn't sent to traditional landfills on shore. It doesn't mean nothing is wasted. Some material is recycled. Some is processed on board. Some is incinerated in advanced systems. These incinerators are cleaner than older versions, but they still produce emissions. Waste doesn't vanish. It just changes form. This is why cruise companies are investing heavily in cleaner fuels, bioprocessors, and smarter systems. Liquefied natural gas, advanced waste treatment, AI-driven food planning. There is no such thing as a zero-impact cruise ship yet. But the industry is moving away from shortcuts and toward accountability. And behind all of this is a crew most passengers never see. While guests enjoy dinner with an ocean view, sanitation and environmental teams work around the clock below deck. Their world looks nothing like a luxury vacation. Stainless steel corridors, heavy machinery, control panels glowing in dim light. They sort food waste, separate plastics, log every kilogram. On some ships, waste passes through 7 different stages before it's considered handled. Every kilogram costs money, either in energy to process on board or fees to offload at port. Without this hidden crew, the entire ship would grind to a halt. Despite all this technology and regulation, the problem isn't gone. The average cruise passenger generates nearly 2 kilograms of waste per day. Multiply that by thousands of passengers and a week-long sailing, and the scale becomes impossible to ignore. Some waste is recycled. Some is processed. A small legal portion may still enter the ocean under strict conditions. Cruise ships contribute less pollution than global shipping or aviation, but responsibility doesn't disappear just because others pollute more. That's why pressure from passengers matters. Small choices make a difference. Buffets trigger a simple trap. When everything is available, people take too much. Plates overflow. Food goes uneaten. One habit changes everything. Walk the buffet first. Take smaller portions. Go back for seconds. Live cooking stations reduce waste dramatically because food is prepared specifically for you. What gets cooked gets eaten. The future of cruising is already changing. The days of overflowing trays are slowly fading. Real luxury now means control, quality, and sustainability. Fewer massive displays. More tasting-style portions. Smarter production guided by data. Digital systems adjusting menus in real time. Artificial intelligence doesn't remove choice. It refines it. In the coming decade, today's buffet culture may feel outdated. A reminder of a time when abundance was confused with quality. Cruise ships are changing out of necessity, not image. And passengers are part of that system, whether they realize it or not. So next time you're standing at a cruise buffet, remember this. You're not just choosing dinner. You're participating in one of the most complex travel operations on Earth. A system that touches food safety, tourism, technology, and the ocean itself. And if you want to uncover more hidden truths about cruise life, travel, destinations, and the stories most passengers never hear, make sure you're subscribed to Travel and Cruise. Because the real journey doesn't always happen on deck. Sometimes it happens behind the scenes. Thank you for watching.